Yay.
Wow, I'm late for my own event.
Yes, you are.
Oh my gosh, sorry. Hey everybody, how is everyone doing? Oh, it's still my work title as well. I'm just finding out how you guys are. Will I change my name from Home Things? Slightly awkward. Okay.
I'm good, if that was a question. Thank you.
It's always a question, babe. I feel like it's been years since I've seen you.
It has been a while, isn't it? It's been a little while.
It's been a hot while. Still looking good though. Chelsey, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. It looks so nice and sunny where you are. I feel like the sun is glowing on your face.
I'm sat right in front of the window for all the natural light.
I love that.
I moved my desk so the window was there because I have so many calls and I look like I'm in a dungeon. So like on the thing. So now I've got the window there, so you know some light comes in.
Absolutely idyllic. I have not got that right. I've done the classic, like a photographer's worst nightmare. I've got the window behind me, so I've got like glare light at the screen, but I was
going for that silhouette look.
Yeah, silhouette-esque. It's gorgeous. Also, I just sent a picture to my sister, and she was like, "Is that your outfit?" I was like, "Yeah, it is." I've worn this to a wedding before, which actually now makes me think in hindsight that was not an appropriate thing to wear to a wedding. It's very dressing gown vibes, but
no, I love it. It looks really nice.
Thanks, babe. So do I. It's like, you know, trendy, whatever you want to say. We'll wait like a couple more minutes just in case there's other people who are joining us, etc. But thanks everyone who is here so far, especially on a Sunday. We're lucky that it's not 30 degrees, but it's still like warm-ish, so we'll keep this like to the hour so people can go out and like enjoy their day, have fun, live their best life. But for those of you who don't know, which would be weird because I guess you came here through one of our channels, but my name's Lois and I run the Gut Instinct page, and today we've got a fantastic panel of guests who are all going to share their experiences with Crohn's or colitis and talk about whatever they choose to talk about. So we've got Chelsey, I'm going in order of appearance on my screen, we've got Chelsey, we've got Nicole, and we've got Moeed, which I think is a stellar lineup. So guys, give the camera a wave. Love it, love it. Zoom is so awkward sometimes. It's like, hey. Cool. Well, do you know what? Let's crack in, and if more people join, then fabulous. And just so everyone knows, in case their cameras are on or not, this is going to be recorded and is going to go onto YouTube as well. So if anyone doesn't want themselves on camera or YouTube, then feel free. We've got a guest of honor with Chelsey. Hey.
That's my boyfriend, sorry.
Hey boyfriend. Oh my gosh, he can totally join. I love this. That's incredible. We can hear it from both sides. So let's kick off by just kind of, I've got no specific order. I haven't even told anyone what order they'll do. I'll start, do you know what? I'll start with a little kind of intro and something that I would quite like to talk about in today's therapy session, if we will. And my kind of 5-10 minute talk is going to be about the invisible side effects of Crohn's and colitis, because I feel like it's something that we all probably suffer with. Some of us probably aren't even aware, aren't necessarily linked to our Crohn's, and also I think it's a lot harder sometimes to find people to relate or understand these kind of invisible symptoms. I think we've all experienced with our IBD that it's an invisible illness and you don't look sick and all those other shitty things that get flown around. And I think what's really important is not only kind of the obvious stomach, tummy side effects of things. So for myself personally, I've been in remission, if you like, for 2.5 years. I haven't been on medication for 2.5 years, which most people would be like, you have cured yourself, well done you, hun. And actually it's the complete opposite. So first of all, disclaimer, because I had a little bit of an argument with someone in the DMs about this not that long ago. They're not on the call, they actually blocked me, about being able to cure Crohn's and colitis, which I just think is a really damaging and really dangerous thing for people to promote, saying that they can cure it, because I'm pretty sure if there was a cure, all of our IBD nurses or all of our gastroenterologists would have said that, you know, it would be available on the internet for us to be like, yes, it's curable, you know, not to say you don't have to go through medication. But even for myself, someone who I guess looks cured or feels cured a lot of the time, because I'm not running to the toilet 20 times a day like I used to, I'm not reliant on Pred like I was, even for someone like me to be like, definitely not cured, and there definitely is no cure, I think just goes to show how narrow-minded that mindset can be. So just a huge disclaimer that I don't think you can cure Crohn's, and if people do think that, you can come fight me. I'm happy to have the fight. I'm happy to, or do you know what? If you can, I'm happy to learn, but I just don't think you can. So by the by of that, I think there's 3 key things that I have experienced, like really, really bad side effects. One is fatigue, and like chronic fatigue, which I struggle with all the time, and I think impacts so many of us on, and can be really, really debilitating, especially when, you know, you're trying to live your normal life, your best life, especially if you're working or if you've got social events, or, you know, just even trying to maintain your own personal mental health. Feeling like waking up and feeling tired all the time, or getting tired halfway through the day constantly, is not normal, and also is so debilitating. So I think that's something to never be undermined, that it's okay to acknowledge that you have fatigue and you can be tired, and for people to try and understand that. The second one is joint pain, which I suffer with so badly. It's unreal. And I think Moeed's nodding. He's like, yes, I get that joint pain. It's so bad. It's so bad. And I feel like it flares up sometimes when it's colder weather. And originally I was like, oh, maybe it's just like an arthritis linked thing, and, you know, it's something that I just experience when it's super cold outside and my body gets achy, because it's very flu-like symptoms, what I find. But actually, especially this week, I think because I've had more stress on my plate, and like the gut is so linked to stress, I think we all know that. But this whole week, like such bad like lower back pain and arm pain and joint pain in my knees, and I think stuff like that is just, people don't necessarily understand how, again, debilitating that can be to always live in pain, especially when it's not something that's visible. Like no one can see that your joints hurt, no one can see that like your back's hurting or that you're aching, and that just kind of going around your daily business can be quite difficult. So that's something that people should be aware of. And the third one, which is my famous one at the moment on Instagram, is hair loss, which is why my hair is like tied up in this tiny baby cute bun. That's all the hair I've got left, just a little rat's tail on the top of my head. But yeah, hair loss is something that not everyone experiences, and I know a lot of people who've been on immunosuppressants such as azathioprine have experienced it. They call it out as like one of the, I guess, most common side effects. I've only been on azathioprine, I haven't been on many of the others. So that's something for people to be aware of, either before they take the medication or during it, but also something to be aware of even if you're not. So I only noticed it when I went on azathioprine, thought when I came off of it, I would be like Rapunzel, Goldilocks, Tangled, like all of those girls combined, and have hair down like to my waist, and it would suddenly come back to normal. Alas, no such luck. The fact that, you know, with Crohn's, your body is struggling to absorb some key nutrients and, you know, feed stuff like our hair and our skin and our nails. And also something that I learned not that long ago, which I think I posted on my stories, but for anyone who missed it, was that your hair follicles, if there's inflammation in your body, so for most of us, our you know, like immune system is fighting itself, it's attacking itself, it thinks there's like something alien in there, so it's using all of its energy and all of its resource to go to there to focus on that problem, to try and fix it, unsuccessfully sometimes. And that's where a lot of your body is sending its, I don't know, receptors, cells, whatever it is, they're sending them there. And your hair and your hair follicles are not deemed by your body as like an essential battle for them to fight. It's not thinking that that is something that you need to stay alive. And so any energy that would have come to your hair, in fact, is going to fight this like internal battle, which on the one hand, you're like, body, you're so great for looking after me, like I'm so grateful for you, I'm so glad that you're doing your job and you know where to go. On the other hand, from a slightly more personal, emotional, kind of traumatic visual perspective, that can be really difficult to deal with. And so many people, when I put it up and was like, oh, I feel so vague, I feel so shallow, for moaning about my hair loss, especially when, you know, I do still have hair on my head, it's not the end of the world. But so many people reached out and related and said, I felt exactly the same. And it's really, really difficult when so much of your identity is about, you know, what you can see like on the top half of your thing. You know, it's the first impact that people have of you. For many of us, like our hair, we use as a way to kind of express ourselves, or use our identity, you know, whether it's long, whether it's short, whether it's dyed. That's like such an obvious expression for so many of us. So yeah, just wanted to draw attention to all these different things for people to either clock on and realize, oh my gosh, yes, I do suffer with that. Or if you do, and you already know you do, just to know that you're not alone, and also never to undermine feeling like these things aren't valid just because they're not kind of classified as classic Crohn's or colitis symptoms with, you know, our stomas and our toilet activities and blood and all the kind of other kind of gross stuff that we're all very aware of. There's some little kind of sneaky other things that can be in there as well. That's my rant over. So all aside, we can get going. So I don't know if anyone wants to volunteer with their first kind of 10-minute chat about them, what they want to do, just for all of our kind of amazing guests who've showed up this morning. Thank you so much. We're going to do 10 minutes for each guest, and then at the end we're going to open it up to a Q&A. I've already had some questions through on Instagram, but if anyone wants to ask a question live about anything that we've said so far, or anything that comes up either to the whole panel, to a specific person, you can use that little chat box down at the bottom of Zoom. Just type your question in there and we'll get to it at the end. So yeah, that's how we're going to run the session. Does anyone want to volunteer with going first? Mo, you're pointing at someone who is not even a speaker.
Who
on the
are you
panel,
pointing at,
my
Mo?
camera, but you're like,
No, on my screen, you're all like here.
I can go first if you want. Lois.
hey, let's kick off. We'll go. Do you know what? We'll go in the order that's now rejigged on my screen. So Nicole will go with you, then Mo will go with you, and Chelsey will finish with you. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Amazing. Nicole, take it away, girl.
Hi everyone. So I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 15. Not a great age when you're going through your GCSEs, etc. But like many others, it was a really long road to diagnosis. So I think it took about 1.5 to 2 years for them to diagnose me. And within that time, I was, losing a lot of weight. I was under 5 stone. I was really, really skinny. I mean, I'm already quite petite, but it was, really noticeable. Losing blood when I was going to the toilet, which I thought was normal. And I think in your mind, you're just, when you're 15, you don't really understand these things. And I just thought this is maybe an issue that everyone had. And I just didn't really take it seriously. But then when I started to lose like my energy, I'd come home from school and just fall asleep. I wouldn't have dinner. I'd go to bed and wake up the next morning, and I just physically couldn't get myself out of bed. So my mum took me to the doctors. I think I went to the doctors close to 20 times in 1.5 years. I was, always kind of pushed away and said, oh, I'm a teenager. Maybe my periods was making me feel tired and I was a bit low on iron. And then it all came to a bit of a climax when I just remember, I don't know if you guys do this, but I remember that day so clearly when I went into hospital and was finally diagnosed. But I'd been at a friend's house and I started to feel a bit fluey, a bit achy. So I went home and had a bath, and then I literally seized up in the bath. I couldn't move my hands, my legs, and I came up in this like rash all over my legs, and I couldn't actually physically get out of the bath. So my mum had to lift me out of the bath and take me, she called an ambulance. They took me to hospital, and I was in there for about 2 weeks and was given the diagnosis that I had Crohn's. And I'd never heard of this before. I think nowadays, maybe Lois, thanks to you and other like IBD communities, it's so, if I mention it now, more often than not, someone will be like, oh, I've heard of that, or I've got a friend who has that, or a family member. But back then, when I'm 33 now, so it was 18 years ago now, which is crazy. No one had ever heard of it. And I was just this 15-year-old who had been given this, this illness, knew nothing about it, knew nobody else who suffered from it. And it was so isolating. And I think when I went back to school, I didn't tell anyone about it. I didn't speak to any teachers or any of my friends, because I just didn't think anyone would understand or know what to say. And then unfortunately, I then had, during my A-levels, I had 2 perianal abscesses, which, if any of you know, is just so painful and very embarrassing. So I had them drained, like any teenager, you want to be normal, and here I am, having perianal surgery. So that happened in my A-level years, and then I got a fistula from that. But that luckily has all settled down and I haven't had any problems since. So fast forward to 2009, I'm in my final year at university. I'm seeing a pattern here where Crohn's likes to kind of trigger when I'm at really key milestones in my life. So GCSEs, A-levels, and now, university. But I had a bowel resection in 2009, which took out a bit of my terminal ileum that was causing a lot of problems. And then after that, luckily, I've been on Humira since about 2011. And I've been in remission since then, save for 2 kind of bleeds where it's more to do with like the surgery kind of issues with that, not really relapsing to Crohn's. So I've been able to manage that quite well. I think what I really wanted to talk about today was, and I know Lois always talks about this a lot, is the impact of IBD on your mental health. So I guess my first experience of IBD affecting my mental health was when I was put on the awful prednisolone, which is a type of steroid. And I think, as well as dealing with a moon face and acne all over my face, at the age of 16, I was having a mental breakdown, and I didn't realise it at the time, but I was depressed, paranoid, feeling very isolated, was always, crying a lot. And I think I didn't realise the impact this medication was having on my mental health. I think I was so focused on getting my body back to normal, and I was so happy that the symptoms were subsiding that I kind of put the effect it was having on my mental health aside and like in a box. And I guess over time my mental health has deteriorated since then, and I've never really addressed it up until about 3 years ago when I started suffering from panic attacks, which is quite a physical response. So I think eventually I thought, this has got to a point where I can't manage it. It's not just me feeling very depressed, it's feeling, panicky, lots of anxiety, and sometimes when at really low points feeling quite suicidal. And that's why it was really hard to talk to my consultant about not just the physical aspect, because I guess from their perspective my bloods were fine, I was having the Humira was working, to them there wasn't an issue, so I was having like an appointment every 6 months, but mentally I was broken. And I think at one stage during an appointment I just broke down to the IBD nurses, and then they were got in touch with my GP, and then I had some group therapy. But I think anxiety and panic attacks really do affect my life now, and it's so strange because this is technically the healthiest I've ever been. I'm the healthiest weight I've ever been. I'm not going to the toilet 20 times, but the actual anxiety of going out now, even though I don't need the toilet, I'm always it's like a Mission Impossible when I'm going to a festival or going on holiday. I'm thinking, okay, so if I go to the toilet here, will there be a toilet here, or am I going to get caught short? All these things, and they really do affect me, and it ends up me not doing things sometimes because I'm scared that something's going to happen. And this is kind of like manifesting in like future things that I want to do. So I'm always now worrying about the future in terms of, will I be able to get pregnant? With the drugs that I'm on, I know Humira is quite, an intense drug. Will I be able to stay on Humira and have a baby? Will I get bowel cancer in the future because, the chances are higher? Will I need a stoma in the future? And I think all these things that actually haven't happened yet, I'm worrying about. And I think that affects me more now than the physical symptoms. But I think it's like amazing that we have this like community now that I see lots of people with Crohn's and colitis having babies, 2-3 babies, and being absolutely fine. People living happy, healthy lives with the stoma, and I feel more positive about it. And I think what I try to do now is live in the now, in the present, and not think 5 years time. Maybe it's because of my age, I'm 33, I'm thinking, oh god, kids, and that pressure on me. But I think what we all need to do is just try and appreciate the now and like live like in the present. I don't know how much time I've got left, but I was going to talk about fatigue. Is that all right?
Babe, go for it.
Yeah. I know, Lois, you've touched on this, but this is one of like the symptoms that I think people just completely underestimate. And it's one of those things that I think we're constantly having to convince people, our friends, our family, partners, that it isn't just, I'm really, really tired, or a nap will fix it. It won't. I can have 9 hours sleep. I'm obsessed with my Fitbit, by the way. So I'm like constantly checking how many hours I've had a night. And I can have 9.5 hours sometimes, and I'll wake up exhausted. And I think it's just one of those things of, it has affected a lot of my friendships in particular, where, you know, I'll fall asleep in clubs, or I'll be the first person to leave a birthday party because I'm just so shattered. And I think people just think I'm lazy, or I can't be bothered, or I don't think that their friendship is important to me. But it really is. And trying to explain that, because on the outside, I guess I look completely fine, but I'm not. Inside, kind of, my body's like constantly fighting. I also find it affects my work. I'm a lawyer, and the expectation on me to work long hours is huge. So it's always feeling like I'm failing or not meeting that expectation, and not being able to communicate to employers or my boss that I really can't work these long hours. I have to put myself first. And a few employers have been understanding, but the majority haven't. And that's been quite a hard thing to manage throughout this. And, you know, Crohn's and colitis is chronic. Like, this is never going to go away. So that is always in the back of my mind when I get a new job, or I think about my long-term career. I think, am I going to be able to reach those achievements? But I think I've learned that we can only do our best. And I think we're amazing people to go through this illness. Like, it is really, really debilitating sometimes, and it takes a lot out of us mentally and physically. And I think sometimes we just need to give ourselves a break and just be like, you know what, if we're working, thank God we've got a job right now, you know, and just pat on the back. Like, you don't have to keep moving up and up. Maybe that is the slight negative to social media, and that you think you have to be doing all these things all the time, but it's just to put yourself first always, and just be happy.
I love that. That's such a nice message to end on as well. That's so good. Thank you, Nicole. That was so brave, and I relate to so many of those points. I'm sure so many other people do, especially like with friends and expectations of like social events, even people who are your great friends or like your partner. Like my boyfriend, who's somewhere, God knows where in the flat, like, love him so much dearly, but you know, I don't feel like he always gets the fatigue level of things a lot of the time, because it's how many times can you say I'm tired? How many nights can you sleep? 10 plus hours. And guys, I think for some people, they think, well, how is it possible for you to still be tired? Like, you've slept all day, you've done nothing, like, and you're still tired. I went to a hen party in February that I'd organized. So it's like a lot of pressure for it to be good and do all these things. And you think like that's the time you can let loose. And like, I used to love a night out. Like, don't get me wrong, still absolutely love it. I like dipped out early on both the nights out, like way earlier than anyone else, because I was like, I'm absolutely fucking shattered. Like, it's no offense to anyone. It's not that I'm having a bad time. I literally like went to bed and a hen party on both nights. I was like, my life now, this is literally my life. But you just have to, I think, like you said, do what's right for you, stay positive, and try not to let other people's expectations or views or opinions affect you. Because what, you're going to stay out because you feel like you're going to pass out? That's not going to be good for anybody at all. But thank you so much for sharing your story. We'll come back at the end because we've got some questions that are coming in already. We're going to move on to Moeed. Take it away, Hannah.
Hello. Just a disclaimer, my hay fever is moving mad. That's why I keep using this tissue. Yeah, my name's Moeed. Thank you, Lois, first of all, for organising this. I think it's a really cool thing to like come out and share our experiences for other people to kind of listen to what we have to say and listen to what others have to say as well. Like Nicole mentioned, it's always cool to have a community where you feel like open and free to share how you're feeling. And again, it links to mental health because that is super important. And like you mentioned, Lois, very connected. I think your gut is known as the second brain of your body as well. So if you're not healthy up here, you're definitely not going to be healthy down there. So Yeah, my name's Moeed. I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 19. I'm 29 now, so it's like 10 years. I think 9.5 years. It's been a crazy journey. I'm just trying to reminisce now, man. It's been a story, man. I can write a book, you know. I was at university. My first year was amazing. I had so much fun. I was doing well in studies as well. You'd be surprised. And then I got I think December of my second year, I started getting all these random pains in my belly. I started going to the bathroom loads, and I enjoy sitting on the toilet, but not as much as that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a lot. And again, I started like passing mucus and blood, and then just losing a lot. I think I lost 10 kilos in a matter of a month. And yeah, I just started to feel really, really sick. Physically, lost a lot of weight, anemic, I really tired, like you guys have mentioned. And I remember I was in my house at uni, and I was calling my mum. I was like, yo, there's something wrong with me, man. Like, my body is not working. Like, I feel sick. So she called the doctors for me because she's so nice. And I think in the space of a month, I had like a colonoscopy and lots of tests, and I was diagnosed. Obviously, it took me a bit shorter than Nicole, which is obviously nicer for me. And I think as time has progressed, like, it's a lot more, less of something, it's a lot more of an option for doctors to diagnose Crohn's, because I feel like maybe 10 years ago, even with me, it was like, okay, cool, what could it be? Is it this? Is it this? Is actually, it might be this. Whereas now they're like, okay, cool. There's a lot more like defining factors for them to be able to diagnose this, which is great. So I got diagnosed with Crohn's, and the first thing I said to the doctor was like, what's the cure? Obviously, there is no cure. It's a bit naive. There's definitely ways to control it, but like right now, yeah, there is no cure. It's more about like just lifestyle changes and kind of like adapting to the situation you're in, which I did not do for the first year. I was like, nah, denial, no way, this is not happening. Like, I'm doing my thing, I'm eating pizza at 3 a.m. and I'm going out with all my friends, which obviously did not work because I got way worse. I put actually, to be honest, I got put on prednisolone like straight after, and then I put the 10 kilos back on in a month. So within 2 months, I'd lost 10 kilos and put on 10 kilos. So I was like, this is not that bad. Come on, man, whatever. This is all right. I could take this nasty medicine. Little did I know it was steroids. I just took it. I was a little yes man, innit? And put the weight back on. And then once I finished the course of steroids, obviously I lost it all again. Yeah, so I think after a year of being in denial and getting even worse, I was like, okay, cool. You have to weigh up the pros and cons. Am I enjoying myself? No. Is my life not going in the direction I want it to go in? Yes. It's not going in the direction I want it to go in. So then I had to kind of like learn more. I did my own research, and that's when it kind of like, I began to like understand the situation you're in. And I think it's super important that you come to terms with the situation you're in, because as soon as you're able to do that and you're comfortable within yourself, everything becomes to like feel a bit easier. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's a little bit easier because you've accepted your situation. And I think self-acceptance is like a big part of this whole thing. Whatever you may be diagnosed with, not Crohn's, whatever the situation you're in life, you either crumble or you just keep moving. You know what I'm saying? And you've got to keep moving. Can't let this stop us, guys. Come on. So yeah, again, like symptoms just weren't getting better. I ended up dropping out of uni. I started taking Humira, but unfortunately I didn't have a good experience on that. I ended up contracting tuberculosis, which is horrible. So I was in like hospital for like weeks. I had like a drain in my lung and stuff. It was mad, like a flipping movie. I didn't feel like a movie star though, bruv. I felt like I'd forgotten about extra, bruv. No food for me. I'm just like working 15 hours a day, bruv. No movie star. So then I got abscesses as well, like Nicole. I had 3 of them at once, which is the worst thing in the world. Again, I kept it moving. Obviously, you just can't let these things stop you, but it was super, super difficult. And I think at that stage, when I was in the hospital, I think this was like December 2014, I wasn't at uni. I left uni. I'd gone back to a different uni and left that as well. The doctors were like, okay, maybe there's some scope for you to have some surgery. I started bawling my eyes out. I was like, nah, no way. I'm not having a bag attached to me. You must be mad. The only bag I want is a Louis V bag, but I don't even have that yet, and it's been 5 years. I don't even like Louis V anyway. So then again, I had like a year of like contemplation where I was like, okay, cool. Do I get this stoma bag or do I allow it? And then I was like, okay, my life is shit. I hate everything right now. I hate the way I feel. I hate the way I look. I can't do anything I want to do. Like, I'm 5 years behind all of my friends because they all finished uni and they got jobs now. And that, as humans, we always compare ourselves to other people, which is a natural response, but it's not something you should definitely like not get used to, because you're on your own path, your own journey, and you can only compare yourself to yourself yesterday. Do you know what I'm saying? And if you've taken small steps to go in the right direction, or the direction you want to go in, that's all you can really do. But at the time, I was like, bruv, my boy's got a car, my other boy's getting married, my other boy's got a yard. Like, what the hell is going on, man? Like, I'm here, man's here just trying to figure out what toilet roll is the most comfortable for me. So, ended up saying yes to the surgery. Excuse me. Said yes to the surgery. I always say to people, you know, I had a year to get to come to terms with it. So when the day of the operation, I was like, ready for this, you know, I'm looking forward to it, to the next chapter. I know a lot of people sometimes might have it like emergency surgery where they just wake up and there's a stoma there, or they might have less time. It's just all about like coming to terms with it and getting used to it. And that's something I really like promote, and I don't promote as much as Loïs, because Loïs is doing her thing, obviously, with the whole guidance thing. But whenever people ask me, it's what I say, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to come to terms with it. Again, like, nobody will know, like, we live with this underlying condition, but again, it's just about how you carry yourself. So I had this surgery. I decided to make some videos to document my journey from the night before to the day of the surgery to like recovering from the surgery. I don't know why I decided to do it. I bought myself an expensive camera, that's why. And I was like, you know what, I better use this damn thing. So I did it. First video I ever made, stuck them on YouTube. And that was when my career blossomed, bruv. So, yeah, I put them on YouTube, you know, even to the day I get messages from people saying, you know, I really liked your videos, you know, they really helped me, which was fantastic. You know, I never ever thought this little video of me just sitting in my dusty room would, you know, help people on their journey, which again is fantastic. It was never my intention to do that, but I'm happy, you know, people are using it as a resource. And that's kind of, yeah, where I was like, okay, you know, I enjoy being in front of camera, you know, I was getting a bit healthier. My abscesses dried up. That was like after 3 years of having a stoma. It took a long time. Yeah, I got into like, so from those videos, I started making more videos about eating food I couldn't eat before. So I went to loads of restaurants and like tried loads of like frozen yogurt and pancakes, and I filmed it and I edited it all up, stuck them on YouTube. And then I had like a little body of work, which I would send to like people to say, look, I can do this. Can you give me work and money? And I started to get jobs. I got a job on a Nigerian TV show on Sky. So I was hosting like a sports little segment on Ben TV, which is like a national Nigerian TV show, which was sick. I loved it. And then I did another TV show. Then I had a radio show. And, you know, the whole stoma and Crohn's thing like got pushed to the back of my mind, if that makes sense. It wasn't like the main attribute of me. It didn't define me. And I feel like now I'm so focused and like enjoying what I'm doing. Like sometimes I forget, like I went through all that stuff, which is not something you should do. You should always remember like what you've been through to get to where you are. Because I definitely wouldn't be where I am if I hadn't gone through all that stuff. You know, it builds character, it builds toughness, it builds resilience. But again, I just don't allow it to define me. So, you know, I'm really happy now. I work for a company called Vice and I make podcasts and I'm chilling, man. I'm really enjoying myself. I hate working from home, to be honest. This whole novelty is raw. Boy, after a week, I was like, nah, bro, let me back in the office, man. What's Corona? But yeah, and it's been about 3 months now working from home. I'm enjoying myself. I'm getting fitter. I intermittent fast now, which means I only eat between like 3 and 9 because I was eating so much at like random times. I was putting on pounds in places I didn't know you could put on weight, bro. So yeah, to round off, man, I'm healthy now, thankfully. I'm currently taking, I'm so bad at medication, I can't remember the name. I take it every 8 weeks, an injection in my leg. I think it's called ustekinumab. Yeah, ustekinumab, which is cool. It seems to be under control. My personal preference is I don't take any medication. I hate the idea of injecting myself with something someone made in the lab. But right now, as I like learn more about the direction I want to go in, like diet-wise and all that kind of stuff, it's okay, but eventually I'd like to like wean myself off that and like just be medication free. But I'm chilling, man. Stoma's chilling. I'm cool. And thank you all for listening. Any questions, holler at your boy. And yeah, man, we can just keep it moving. I'm looking forward to hearing what Chelsey has to say.
I love it. Thanks so much for that, Mo. That was so good. You're like the media golden boy of Crohn's disease. That's you, Media Mo. That's your new nickname, whether you like it or not. Let's move on to Chelsey. Chelsey, I'm so excited to hear your story and what you've got to bring to the table.
Hi, thank you so much, Lois, for having me. Say that as well. Okay, so I've had Crohn's for a long time. So this all started when I was really young. I was about 6. I started losing weight. I was extremely skinny, skin and bone basically. Diarrhea. I was constantly going to the toilet. It was a lot of back and forth with my mum taking me to the GPs and then not taking it very seriously. I was actually then misdiagnosed as having celiac disease. So then obviously went on a gluten-free diet, which back then was absolutely horrible because everything tasted awful. And obviously that didn't work. So then it was back to the drawing board, and then eventually we found out that I had Crohn's disease. Yeah, and then so I went on a drink called Moeed, which is a bit like a milkshake, and I was actually really fortunate. I was completely fine from the age of 6 till about 14, and that's when my body kind of started rejecting the Moeed milkshake. So I started getting really severe stomach pain again. I was constantly going to the toilet. I remember having dinner with my family, and I would have like 3 mouthfuls of food, and I'd have to run to the toilet and everything would come straight back out. I know that's a really common symptom. So I remember I was admitted to hospital for a few days, and then I was put on loads of different medications. My body wouldn't accept them, so eventually I was just put on a course of prednisolone, and I continued going back to school. And then it just kind of got severe. I was in absolute agony. I remember collapsing on the floor in the bathroom because I was in that much pain. So then my mum called my consultant at the hospital, and then the consultant was like, you know, bring her in right now. So then we went to the hospital and I was admitted, and then they decided that the best thing for me would be to have a small bowel resection, because that bit of my bowel was so badly like diseased essentially. And to be honest, I was so happy when they told me I was going to have surgery, which I know sounds really crazy, but I was just in so much pain constantly. I honestly don't know how I did it, because I was going to school at the same time, but I was in absolute agony. So thought of not being in pain was just amazing. Yeah, so I had the surgery. I was in hospital for about 3 weeks altogether, and then so after the surgery I was put on methotrexate, and I was on that for a few years, and then I eventually became medication free, which I'm really proud of. And then again I had a really long period of being well, so I was well from about the age of 15 to 23, and then I randomly started experiencing really severe joint pain, which is something I've never experienced before in my life. So I went to my GP, and then they were like, eventually I got I had x-rays and I had blood tests done, so I didn't have arthritis. And then I eventually spoke to my consultant, who said it could be linked to my IBD. So last year, December, I had a colonoscopy done, and that showed that my Crohn's was indeed active again. And then that led to me just going on prednisolone again, which honestly, everyone that's been on prednisolone, it's horrible. My face ballooned, I put on so much weight. I couldn't sleep at all. It was awful. So now I'm just on methotrexate, and I'm on sulfasalazine as well, just to maintain my Crohn's. I'm so much better than I was. My joint pain is far less intense than it was. I still get fatigue. I still get a bit of brain fog, which is really unfortunate, but I'm so thankful that my symptoms have reduced so much. So that's it for now. But I also wanted to talk about my mental health, because honestly, Crohn's has made my mental health so bad. I think it started when I started getting unwell at the age of 14. I think because I was kind of like teenager age, I didn't really want to kind of admit that I knew I had Crohn's, but I didn't want to talk about it. I was kind of in denial, and I think that just made things so bad. I remember when I went to college, I had severe anxiety. Sometimes I couldn't even leave the house, and that has led to depression. I've been on antidepressants twice now, and I think that's something that needs to be better. Like, my consultants have never ever asked me how my mental health is in any of my appointments, and it's obviously it's a chronic illness. I'm going to have it for the rest of my life. I think that's something that needs to be addressed. Yeah, that's a really negative side effect, but my mental health is much better now than it was before, and I'm not ignoring the fact that I have Crohn's like I used to when I was a teenager, which is great. What else? I also wanted to talk about why I started my Instagram. So I started my Instagram just to kind of connect with other people who have Crohn's and colitis. I mean, I so wish that that community existed when I was younger, because I kind of felt so alone. I felt like I was the only person with it, even though I know that wasn't true. But just having people to speak to, like, this whole community is like so amazing. Everyone's so supportive. We could talk about like medications and things like that. I honestly, I've made like so many friends, and it's just amazing. And I love that the community that we've created online. How am I doing for time?
You're good. You've still got a little bit of time if you'd like to. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What else am I going to talk about? Pregnancy. I know Nicole touched on this. So even though Crohn's is obviously an inflammatory bowel disease, it does affect so many other things going on with your body. Because I'm on methotrexate, I won't be able to have children whilst I'm on that medication. So it's kind of scary. I remember for a while thinking that I might not be able to have children. So, you know, me and my boyfriend have spoken about like the future and the fact that we're going to have to plan it, because I have to be off methotrexate for like 3 to 6 months before I eventually plan having children. And I know that some people go into flares while they're pregnant, which can affect the development of the baby. And some people, you know, and there's just a higher risk, obviously, having Crohn's or colitis while you're pregnant. So, yeah, so there's a lot for me to worry about, but it's, I mean, it's so much better than it was before. So
yeah, that's amazing. And also, it's so shocking, I think, when you think about your journey and the fact that you got diagnosed at 6 years old. Like, can you imagine like, if you look at a 6-year-old now, you'd be like, that's horrible. A question I did have actually for you was, when you said, I can't remember if you said it was between 6 and 14, whenever you were on Modulin, the drink, were you only on a liquid diet for that amount of time, or were you taking that
so I was eating as well as having that. So there was a period of time where I was only on Modulin, but for the most part I was eating normally, and then I had the Modulin every morning, which kept my symptoms at bay.
Got you, yeah. And I think Modulin. Sorry. Yeah, Modulin's weird. What did you think of Modulin?
They gave me Nesquik, like little Nesquik mixtures.
Oh, well. Yeah, that's what I used to mix as well.
I was like, strawberry Nesquik. 12 tubs, and I was like, oh, this is what babies feel like, bro. Scooping that in there. I was like, I can be a dad. I was scooping that in there, scooping a bit. I was like, this is easy, bro. I was back in it. I tried a liquid diet as well, but I think the longest I lasted on liquid diet was like 2 days. And I couldn't handle it. I was so weak.
It's really tough.
Mentally,
so
it's not easy. Like, you're so used to, like, now I'm chilling because all I do is drink water all day, and obviously I only eat between 3 and 9. But obviously that's like, it's a bit 10 years too late, mate. But no, man. Thank you for sharing, Chelsey. That was methotrexate as well. I heard they wanted to put me on that as well.
Yeah, I've been on that too.
Yeah,
so how did you find it?
Yeah,
I did not. It didn't agree with me at all. It actually made my symptoms worse.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it was just. I guess medications they affect people so differently. Like Humaira's been really great for me, but not for Mo. So it's like it's so difficult. But yeah, methotrexate was quite a harsh drug for me.
Yeah, and azathioprine in general. Yeah.
Yeah, because I got shingles on azathioprine, so that was fun.
Another fun thing to add to the list.
I was like,
I can't have today.
One of the little games you play when you're in a kid and you're driving a car. Have you seen Have you seen a bar?
It's like, another milestone done. Great.
It's the only competition we can have with each other, though, man. I had that too. What are you talking about?
It's not the kind of thing I thought we were going to brag about. It's not the thing when you're a kid, you're like, yeah, when I grow up, I want to make sure I've ticked off all the symptoms that you can have with Crohn's and colitis. Yeah, absolutely living my life. Chelsey, that was so informative and really, really insightful. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And to all of you for being so candid and so honest. I think it's really brave to be able to come on and talk to even just one person, let alone like 20 people, let alone the internet, about your journey and your experience. So to all three of you, before we go into like a little Q&A, just want to say a huge thank you, because it's really appreciated and I know so many people relate. So we've got 15 minutes. We've got a couple of questions in the chat. I've had a couple of questions through on Instagram. So I'm going to direct a couple to each of you just personally, and then I'll do a question that's like just to the floor and we can all answer if that works for everybody. So we're going to start with Bethany's question. Bless you, Mo, you poor little hay fever baby. We're going to have Bethany's question, which is, I've got my first colonoscopy in a couple of weeks and I'm really nervous. Do you have any tips or advice? And I'm actually going to give that question to Chelsey, just because I know that you had one not so long ago. So Chelsey, have you got any kind of tips or advice for Bethany?
I would say just relax as much as possible. I was nervous as well. I'm nervous with all of my colonoscopies. But yeah, just make sure you arrive early. The drink you have to take, the laxative, is disgusting, I'm not gonna lie, but you can mix it with certain cordials, like light coloured cordials that make it a bit better to drink. What else would I say? You can ask for pain relief as well while they're doing the colonoscopy, which makes it a bit more comfortable. Actually, when I had my colonoscopy back in December, there was a nurse in the room and he let me hold his hand as a bit of comfort, so that was really nice. But yeah, and then you get your results like immediately almost, so yeah.
That's amazing advice. And yeah, I think you're, like you said, just kind of try and be calm and take it each as it comes, because they're not pleasant experiences for anybody. And I think we've all had our ups and downs, but you're right, they're getting the results almost instantaneously, especially if you're like semi-aware of what's going on the screen, is so reassuring. I think for so many people, especially like pre-diagnosis, having that colonoscopy is actually like, thank God that I now, like, people are seeing, because otherwise you never see inside you, and it's a little bit fascinating. My it wasn't for a colonoscopy, it was for an ileostomy or something. I can't even remember what it was, an endoscopy, something. Anyway, that I had one time. I actually brought this story out at work at a barbecue not that long ago, which was, I don't know why I said this story, but if anyone thinks they had a bad time with, you know, getting naked, knees up or whatever, as a woman, you know, a lot of us have periods, not all of us, but some of us do, so some of us might wear tampons. And I like, you know, got naked down below, as they make you do, and they say, right, knees up to your chest and all this stuff when they give you an enema, which is not a fun thing to do. And then the doctor, who was like the nicest guy in the whole world, he was so sweet, and again, like, he got someone in the room to hold my hand through all this stuff because I was on my own. And he was like, okay, just knees up to your chest, right? I'm just going to move your tampon string from your bum, if that's okay. And it was honestly the most embarrassing thing. The most embarrassing start to an already embarrassing process. I was like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, what you got to do, no worries. Honestly, horrendous. I don't know why I say these stories for the internet, but it's just to make people realize it's fine. It will always be fine. Chelsey, thank you for your advice. We've got a question from Rachel that I'm going to give to you, Mo, because I feel like you can relate to this. It's, knowing how you feel now after having a stoma, do you wish you'd have had surgery earlier? Or do you think that having that time to be at peace with it helped with your recovery and with acceptance of your stoma?
Great question. I think the ultimate question of having a stoma is a great idea. I definitely have been so much better since having it. And I think if there's an option for you to have the surgery, it's just about weighing up how you feel now, and if it's more of the same, if that makes sense, or like how you would feel after the surgery. And everyone that I've spoken to and has gone on to have surgery has felt so much better. When it comes to me, I don't think I'd want it earlier, only because it took, you know, all these things to happen for me to kind of get into the position where I'm like, okay, cool, now's an option, because surgery is never the first option. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like one of the final resorts. They always want to like do like medication to kind of like help you and fix you, and not fix you, but, you know, make you feel better. So it's definitely just like, you know, take your time and Yeah, stoma surgery is definitely like the way forward for me, man. Definitely. Whenever people ask me, I always say, yeah, go for it. And it took me, like I said, the year beforehand to kind of come to terms with it. But even then, afterwards, you know, it's a learning experience. There's only so much you can do without the stoma. So once I had the surgery, I was like, okay, cool. I had mishaps, you know, leaks and all that kind of stuff. But I was in a learning mode. I was like, okay, cool. This is stuff is going to happen, because whenever you try something new, it doesn't go the way you want it to go all the time. But now I'm in the groove now. Obviously, it took me maybe a year, less than that, 6 months to get used to it. And I'm chilling, man. Literally, man, just chilling. I'm bougie. I'm shopping all the stoma supplies. I'm like, what have I not tried? Let me try this air freshener. Let me try a bit of that. Let me try this. So yeah, man, it's cool. There's so much out there as well. There's lots of people who are kind of like, it's not so much taboo now, like you said, with the whole like emergence of social media and people like just sharing their stuff, which is fantastic to everyone that does it. Yeah, man, I'm chilled, man. I'm super chilled.
Amazing. That's a great answer. Well done. And Nicole, I'm going to put this question to you. It's from Bryony, who was a speaker on Stomach Stories #1, Bryony Hopkins, who we all know and love. She has said, thank you so much for sharing your stories. And I think it's so important to talk about the mental health aspect. Just wondered how you have all found accessing mental health support. I've always found I've had access to it outside of my gastro team and sometimes out of the NHS too. So Nicole, I know you touched on a lot on mental health, so it'd be good if you could answer that one, please.
Oh, great question from Bryony. Love Bryony. Hello, if you're on here. Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about that when I was doing my little thing, but I completely forgot about it. But I would say that it has been really, really tough in terms of getting mental health support. I feel it's been an uphill struggle, always battling, going back and forth. I've been, you know, assessed a few times by the GP, but then it's gone nowhere. So they'll see me a few times and then it will just be forgotten about. I tried group therapy and that didn't really personally work for me. So then it was going back to the GP, and then trying to get one-to-one sessions on the NHS for me has been near enough impossible. So it's something actually that I've been thinking about recently in terms of doing it privately. But obviously it is a big expense, but I'm thinking it will be beneficial. But I just wish that, you know, when you go for your appointments, that it's like part of the whole like experience, that they don't just ask you about your physical symptoms. They ask you, how are you feeling mentally? Are you well? You know, do you need support? That has never been asked ever. It took me having, as I said, like a mental breakdown at my appointment for the nurses to be like, oh gosh, we need to get the GP to talk to you. We need to get you some help. So yeah, I do think it could be better. I get that it's a work in progress, and I think if more of us talk about it, then hopefully it will get better. But I just know that maybe, I always think that agenda is always pushed to the side. Like mental health is always like kind of the last thing that they fund. And I guess that won't change until things get better. But yeah, I think I'm glad, Bryony, that you've had a good experience, but I guess personally that hasn't been kind of a good support for me. I don't
for sure.
Yeah, cool.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I completely agree with you, by the way, Nicole. I think like mental health services are completely like underfunded in general. But I was lucky in that through my hospital, you know, I managed to have some, even from beginning, like I was going to say, if you're at university now and you're going through something like this, you should contact your disability services at your university. Because I didn't want to do that at first, but I got kind of like urged to do it, and it was fantastic. Did I like get a laptop, and they helped me with my room, and they gave me lots of things to help me through university. But they gave me like a counselor, and obviously at 19, I was literally pouring my heart out for like 55 minutes, and you know, she was just listening to what I had to say, and it definitely made me feel a lot better at the time. And then like a couple of years later, just before my surgery, I got another one through the hospital. Again, like I said, I must be an anomaly, because most of the people I know like don't get this. So again, I wanted to mention about the university thing. If you're at uni, definitely see if you can go to your disability services and get something through that, because I think they're very open to helping people. I think a lot of people just don't know that service is available. But yeah, like Nicole said, it's definitely worth it. I think even if it's a bit of an investment, man, like like I said, man, if you're not healthy up here, it's not like nothing's gonna work. Do you know what I'm saying? It's all gonna go downhill. So come to the terms of it, talk to somebody, get comfortable, understand the journey you're on, and then yeah, we can just take it from there. And I'm gonna sneeze, so I'm just gonna mute myself.
So true.
I love that. Like, no, and I'm out. Just quickly mute. I think it's so true. And yeah, I mean, the comments that have come in since we've been talking about mental health, you know, we've got Victoria, Philly, Katie, everyone kind of agreeing and sharing their own experiences with mental health. So I think it's just, it's obviously very clear from talking to all of you and like Chelsey, your experience, and Nicole and Mo, that I think the support with mental health seems to be great for the minority, but not necessarily the majority. I think even in this like small, tiny focus group, the fact that more of us haven't had that support is quite showing and quite telling that that isn't, you know, offered as maybe it should be, especially when, you know, it's a chronic disease and like some of us have it so young and as teenagers. Like Chelsey, I know when you were saying that you were 14 and it was becoming really difficult, like these are really big things for anybody at any age, you know, late 20s, 30s, 40s to have to deal with, especially when it's lifelong. I think that's difficult as well. But we're coming to the end. I never like them to overrun too much because I feel like, you know, I don't want to steal people's time. So one thing that I had a question through on Instagram that I'm going to ask each of you to answer is like a one tiny little snippet, golden nugget of advice that you would give to someone who has been newly diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease. So whether it's Crohn's or colitis, if this imaginary person came to you and was like, please help me, what's your advice? What would you say? What would be like your one golden tip?
I would say put yourself first. Sometimes I feel really bad for saying no to things or work, for example, but just put yourself first, put your health first, and everything will be fine.
I think
that's amazing. That's such a great piece of advice.
Sorry, yeah. I'd say talk about it. I didn't talk about it when I got diagnosed, and I think you kind of isolate yourself in that situation. So just talk to friends, family, people that you trust and are close to you, and just get that off, you know, put those fears like to those people and like get it off your chest, because if you hold everything inside like I did, it eventually just kind of breaks you down. So just talk about it.
Mine would probably be just like get ready for a new path and a new journey, man. Just because you're diagnosed with this, it doesn't mean you can't do what you wanted to set out to do originally. It just means you have to take a slight U-turn or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't let it stop you. Just understand the situation you're in, get used to it, adapt to it, because it's not going to go anywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to get used to it, and understand that everyone on earth goes through something at some point in their life that is going to test them physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and this is just what you have, what we have. So don't let it stop you. You might have to slow down a little bit, but once you get used to it, you get back, you find your feet again, man, you can get there even faster.
Yeah, amazing. All very good pieces of advice. I think my one, although it wasn't really asked to me, but sorry, I'm going to give one anyway, was, you can't rule me out of my own event, was that you should listen to your body. Because I think that it's something that we are sometimes embarrassed to do, but like, you know your body better than anyone else. So especially for people in their like diagnosis journeys, you know, if someone's telling you that it's celiac, like in the case of you, Chelsey, and like deep down you know it's not, because you're fine having your bread, or you know, if your mental health isn't right, or you're aching, or whatever symptom it is that you're struggling with, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically, just always listen to your body, and don't undermine kind of your own intuition and your own gut instinct, which, you know, great name, because like you obviously know you better than anybody else, like better than someone who's sat opposite you who's telling you, no, you don't need that, you just need another blood test. So always listen to your body and always push for what you believe is needed and what you believe is right, whether it's like the mental health services. Nicole, I feel you on struggling to get seen. I have been trying to see someone for years now, and honestly, like maybe 3-4 years I've been on different waiting lists, and the services get stopped before they've even been started, or I just get booted off a waiting list after I've been waiting for 20 weeks, and it's difficult. But same with mental health or physical health, you know your body and you know what you deserve, so make sure like you really push to get seen in whatever that is. That would be my my little tip. But guys, thank you so much for joining and giving up an hour of your sunny Sunday mornings. So Chelsey, Nicole, Mo, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you everyone who's kind of
so much for
tuned in
me.
again.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, and enjoy your days. And this will go up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow, whenever I can be asked to upload it. But yeah, I will let you know. And thank you so much for giving up your time. It's been really amazing.
Also, can we just say, as in like shout all of us if you guys want to chat as well, by the way. We're open to like speaking to people. So just follow us, you know what I'm saying? Like, drop us the DMs, slide right in there.
Slide into their DMs. I put their handles earlier up in the chat so you can find them. It's Chelsey Leanne IBD, it's Nicole SAH7, and it's Mooed Majeed. So go find them. They're tagged in all of our stories. You can see it all. But definitely give them a follow, give them a shout out, message them. They're all super kind and helpful and very open and honest, as you've seen from this chat. So enjoy your chats.
Thank you, Lois, again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for organising this. Thank you.
No probs. Bye, guys.